Alright guys, welcome back to the Warchief Club 20 Oceania. So we've got LaSh up against Really in the third place final, the losers final. So the loser of this walks away third place. The winner of this books themselves a ticket to the grand final against Koinu. And we got ReallyUnskilled in the orange trunks here, on the bottom side of the map. The top side of the map we've got LaSh on Chinese. So French are very rushy, early map control civ. Well, Chinese usually quite a fairly macro-y civ, but they can always play a rush style with Tower Barbican Rush. So our players not actually using the mod for this one. So LaSh is going to have to deal with the fact that really it's just opening pretty standard and is going to be probably fielding some early knights. So we'll have to see what he opts for here, whether he does go for an aggressive use of his Barbican or whether he just plays fairly defensive, relying on spears and towers early on. Or he can just goes balls to the wall and just tries to pressure his opponent off getting either 2 Town Center or Song Dynasty and not really worrying about getting the other. Because either or will let him fight one TC French fine, and then he can always add the second Town Center as the French player adds a second TC. So, to see what LaSh has got in store. And so we have Really get his shot against Koinu, or we see LaSh get another shot against Koinu, having been unsuccessful in the winners final. Some very skilled players today. And so really, yeah, he's going to go for the early knights. And I mean, yeah, he can go hella pressure oriented, or he can go for a second town center. Obviously, if the Chinese player goes Song Dynasty and goes even in town centers, they're going to have the villager production lead over you, which is sort of unusual for the French player. They used to slightly training villagers faster than everyone else. Training them slightly faster, sorry. But with Chinese and their dynasties, so the one official's just been empowering most of this time. Doing a trip roughly 40 gold, because it's optimal just to hit as close to just over 40 gold as possible. I mean, as dead on 40 gold as possible. So being slightly over doesn't really hurt, but being way over, you've got a big cooldown. So, really now chipping away at the vills here. Stables, it's going to be fairly fierce, and the School of Cav trains 20% faster than regular stables. LaSh does have a few of his own vills, a few of his own scouts out here. Pushing back one of them, trying to pick one off. But really, some good micro, some good control, just bringing it back home. Not worrying about sticking around for a fight. He's just going to guard his own food gatherer. So really is going to go for some stone early on here. Or LaSh. Feud Lade's kicking in, and it looks like he is getting the resources to go for another landmark. So if he can get that Barbican, it'll give him the space he needs to get his gold. He can just tower up his stone if he needs to. He wants to go down that route. Now that he knows, even though he's lost a scout, he'll know that really be going for an early second town center. So now this sort of does give the Chinese player the ability to go 2 TC Song. Like you'd either go 1 TC or Song if they are just going to go hella pressure oriented and go for the second TC behind more production than this. Doesn't mean really you want to get your own spears out. You want to get some of your own ranged out afterwards. Second official out now for LaSh, who's going to really be able to start picking up that gold. Bit unfortunate that he put that on cooldown first before depositing at the other academy, sorry. Spears out now, going to make this defense a bit easier for LaSh. It really is going to be able to pick off a Vil and get out by the looks of it. Eager to try and get a second one, but doesn't want to lose the knight, so he gets out just in time. He's going to add another knight to the mix. This is a nice bait for Really, because he's actually going to pick off that low villager now. So LaSh having a retreat, but not quite got the stone he needs. He's going to add a village so he can garrison. He's dropped a couple of Vils now. Since it's sort of not the spot he wants to be in here. Ideally he wants to drop no Vils and maybe even snipe the knight in this position, but it's just not going all that great. Perhaps he needed to Barbican the stone and maybe worry about towering the gold later on. But at the same time, I guess that also protects everything over here. So a knight gonna fall. LaSh getting something going his way early on here, because those are basically worth 3 Vils overall. I mean, they're worth 3 spears, probably 2 Vils, because I mean, villagers gather, obviously. And our second TC French player, for now, is going to have a slight edge with villager production over the Chinese player who'd snatched it off him by going for Song Dynasty. I like this forward TC because, I mean, really can actually basically stage foothold here, add all his production here, add maybe a keep here later on. And it's very hard for LaSh to break him. In the center of the map, some big advantage with holding on to the sacred sites. And LaSh again is going to have to try and protect these stone gatherers, but he's already got the stone he needs, so he can go second town center now. He's got access to granaries for improved farms later on, access to the Zhugnu, so they're a wonderful archer that actually deals reasonable damage to the knights, probably the best archer against them. Really just patrolling around, wants to see if he can deal any damage. He's going to probably spot the town center. I'm just checking the gold mine. Trying to harass the village once again, but the spears are in tow. But this is nice for Really. He does force LaSh to have to garrison. And he knows about the second TC as soon as it's finished. So LaSh, where does he go from here? He's going to start adding his own stables units. He's got a horseman in tow as well as some spears, but he needs to be careful that the horseman doesn't just get picked off. While it can chase the Knights will fuck it up in a straight up fight. It's a bit rough for LaSh. He's just going to drop that Horseman like that. Really keeping an eye on that second TC, so he can always start shifting a couple of Knights over there alongside the Horseman. He's staying active on the other side of LaSh's base, who's continuing to add Horsemen and he's not really adding any Spears for the minute. Because I mean, he's got enough to fight this many Knights head on, but eventually we'll have to add a couple more or start getting this Castle Age out. Really is raiding quite well right now. Another pair of Knights sneaking in to the top side. Continuing just to chip away at this house, at the village. And just keep this army busy. Because he knows the Spears can't really chase, so as long as he just baits the horses away, picks off individual horses and backs out. Comes out well ahead there, so it's great micro. Early on from the French player. A little bit rough from our Chinese player. Really probably just needs to shove with Spears and Zhugnu if anything, and not worry about Horsemen at the moment. What TC Garrison well there by LaSh, but at the same time not able to get a kill. Bunch of villagers being picked off there by Really, so that's rough for LaSh. Really hasn't yet gone for the healing on his Knights yet. He's going straight past Really's town centre to try and engage on the rest of the villagers on the mill. So LaSh, it's been rough for him because he's really been picked apart by the French player. LaSh 47 and 17, Really on 56 and 27. So Really's kept a villager lead, even though his fill production out of the two TCs is slower. He's really denied LaSh's opportunity at getting on this hunt. That's been good of him to attack from this front, because there's not really much food over this side for LaSh to actually use to get towards Castle Age. He's going to have to start committing to farms fairly early on here. French players really starting to choke him out. So Mr. actually quite skilled here is continuing to be ever the pest with the French Age 2 right now. And with the armory, he's got free Bloomery. But he hasn't really opted for any other techs at the moment. At least the benefit with French, you do get a free armory tech. Forcing a lot more garrisons here. So the army of LaSh having to come and back this up, because Really had a poke at the army over here, at the villagers over here, and LaSh had gone for it. This has been wonderful bait and switch all game long here by Really. LaSh is just still messing up Horsemen as well as the Spears. Another villager being picked off, trying to go for the wall up there. LaSh is going to try and go for it again, but Really is going to leave a Knight there. He's going to come in and try and get a charge off and back out. So again, another successful charge in close quarters of the Spears. He's just going to miss those villagers, but LaSh needs to cancel this, because that's 250 wood right there. He could have put towards earlier production for Sills. And getting some farms down, or getting, yeah, houses or something. Well, Really about to start the transition to Rams. He's got siege engineering, and he's going to be able to start adding his range damage and his armor upgrades behind this. Well, LaSh for the minute, it's down quite a bit in terms of pops. So we've got 73 and 53 to 55-35. LaSh trying to add his blacksmith now, but he's a bit slow on the techs. It's been a rough ride for him. this game with Really's aggression. Big raid attempt by LaSh, but Really's walled up just in time. But oh, there is just enough of a gap that LaSh is going to be able to pressure all these food gatherers of Really. He's going to have to evacuate there, but not before he loses a couple. Meanwhile, the Rams are going to make this difficult because LaSh is going to have to start replacing a lot of structures back at home, and eventually the town center is going to be exposed. LaSh can just look at even, Really can just look at even focusing down that stables first before he goes for the TC. So Really will be best off trying to garrison these fields because he's going to lose some of them. So it's a little careless from him, but at the same time, this is a really solid push for him. He's trying to bait his opponent into attacking the Rams so he can charge, kill the horsemen, and now he can really whittle down the spears with his bowmen. So this village is not being garrisoned by Really is a bit of a mistake. I don't know if it's going to be game deciding though. He's still got plenty of a force here. And he's bringing back most of his reinforcing army because he knows he's got so much here. He's actually overwhelmed LaSh for the minute, who's having to garrison the spears and try and focus down the bows and find an opportunity to pick off all the Rams here. GG really takes the game. He finds himself in the grand final.